Hello everyone, my name is Adisha and welcome to Learn with Adisha. In this video, we are going to do part 2 out of 3 of the quadratic equation series. In this case, we are going to be how to solve quadratics with the quadratic, which I will notate here as Q dot as an abbreviation. The quadratic formula. Now, the quadratic formula is one of the easiest, if not the easiest, ways to solve a quadratic equation of any form, in fact. All you need to do is get it to one very, very specific form, and only that form will work. That being either x squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, or ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Now, either one of these forms will work, but all you have to know is that the right side of the equation must be equal to 0. That's all you have to know. Not a whole number, not a negative number, not a fraction, 0. Exactly equal to 0. That's all you have to know. And this part, the either x squared plus bx plus c or ax squared plus bx plus c, those two parts are an explanation of how to use the quadratic formula. If you can memorize these two, you're all set, especially if you can memorize only ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. The reason why I say that this is important, that this is an easy method, is because it relies on very, very basic knowledge of quadratic equations. All you have to do is memorize these two formulas, and then you're all set. I'll show you the quadratic formula. So, I showed you that the formula for a quadratic equation is usually ax squared, where a is the coefficient of x squared, plus bx, where b is the coefficient of x, plus c is equal to 0. The right side is equal to 0 specifically, and this part is the equation. This is what we want to find the value of x from. Now, a special thing to remember about quadratic equations is that when you're solving them, you might notice that there are two answers instead of one. This is how you're supposed to solve them. You're supposed to solve them for two answers. But if you only want a positive answer or a negative answer or a real number answer or anything like that, you will only get one of the two. Alright? So, I will show you how to solve a quadratic equation via this formula. Alright? So what you're supposed to do is you have to take x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, the whole divided by 2a. Now you can remember this in many different ways. For example, by saying it to the turn of, by saying it to a nursery rhymes theme, or you can remember it as a story, which you can find on mathsisfun.com. Really good website if you want to find out more math practice tools. Alright? So, this is the formula that you have to remember. Minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, the whole divided by 2a. Now, here's a bit of a theory class. Why do we say plus or minus the square root of something and not just the square root of something, right? You'd expect it to be positive, right? You'd expect a square root to be positive. But no, that's completely incorrect. Let's take the square root of 9. Now, 9 can be formed in two different ways by multiplying the same number by itself. Either 3 times 3 or minus 3 times minus 3. So by adding the plus or minus, we can ensure that both these answers are represented equally. Alright? So this is why we add plus or minus to the formula. Right now, we are going to go and solve a practice question with this. Now, in IGCSE, there will also be some questions asking if a quadratic equation has any real number solutions or not. Now, for those that do not know or have forgotten, it's quite easy. Real numbers are every whole number, every decimal number, every irrational number in existence that can be represented or written down in some way. They have a definite value and we can plot them on a number line if we use something that's big enough. For example, we can take 1 over 2, 1 over 3, 5, 0.99, or 0.1234, repeating, so on, so on. All of these are real numbers and they can be ordered in any specific order. One thing to remember about real numbers is that they encompass all numbers except for a special type of number called imaginary numbers. Now, imaginary numbers have to do with a symbol called I. Specifically I for imaginary. Specifically I. Now, I is just equal to the square root of minus 1. Because there is no square root of minus 1. Because, look, we can take the square root of 1 as equal to plus 1 or minus 1. But the square root of minus 1 is equal to, well, we don't know. Why? Because minus 1 is only either formed by plus 1 times minus 1 or minus 1 times plus 1. But, of course, the rules of square rooting say that square roots can be applied to any specific value. So we take the square root of minus 1 as equal to a number called I. Square roots of any negative number have the base of I. And the number in front of it is a coefficient. I squared is equal to minus 1. So let's try something. So we can take the square root of minus 25. Minus 25 is equal to 25, or the square root of 25 in this case, times the square root of minus 1. The square root of minus 1 is I. So we will write I times the square root of 25. And as you know, the square root of 25 is 5. So we get the value 5i. Very simple, isn't it? Yeah. Don't worry though, if this is a bit too complicated, feel free to rewatch the video as many times as you want. I do not care about how many times you watch the video. So long as you understand it, then I'll be happy. So, moving on. Now that you know what real numbers and imaginary numbers are, let's move on to how to find if a quadratic equation has any, if even one exists, real number solutions. Using something called a determinant. We will take b squared minus 4ac as the determinant. And if it is greater than 0, if it is greater than or equal to 0, then there should be at least one real number solution. But if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, in that case, there are no real number solutions. All solutions are going to be imaginary numbers. And in that case, you can't fully solve them and get a complete value with the quadratic formula unless the examiner tells you that either they need a specific value or you can use imaginary numbers. But using imaginary numbers is extremely complex and you'd only ever have to do that in college. So, moving on, now that you know what a real number is, what an imaginary number is, and how to find out if a quadratic equation has any real number solutions using the determinant, say it with me folks, the square root of b squared minus 4ac is the determinant. Now, let's move on to using the actual quadratic equation for actually solving a quadratic equation and finding out the solutions. Recall this little plus or minus sign from before. Whether you use plus or minus, it'll give a completely different answer either way. So let's take a quadratic equation. 5x squared plus 3x plus 1 is equal to 0. In this case, let's put the normal quadratic equation on top of this. In this case, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And we can see here that 5 lines up perfectly with a, 3 with b, and 1 with c. So we can say that 5 is equal to a, 3 is equal to b, and 1 is equal to c. So now that we've gotten everything that we need to solve this question, we can completely erase this and disregard it. But just so you know which question we're solving, I am going to write down the equation here. So 5x squared plus 3x plus 1 is equal to 0. And we want to find out the value of x. Okay? So let's do this. Let's take the formula x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac the whole divided by 2a. Let us take this formula and apply it to this equation. So we can take x is equal to, in this case, let's take 3 as b, as we can see here. So minus 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared, which in this case is 9, minus 4 times 5, which is 20, times 1, which is still 20. So minus 20 divided by 2a, which is in this case 10. So we can simplify this and get minus 3 plus or minus the square root of minus 11 the whole divided by 10. Now you can see here that the determinant is negative. It's negative. Okay? So you can see here, we will take this and say x1 is equal to minus 3 plus the square root of minus 11, the whole divided by 10, and x2 is equal to minus 3 minus the square root of minus 11, the whole divided by 10. So we can say this. See, it's quite simple if you think about it. Oh, and minor correction to my earlier words. The determinant is not square root of b squared minus 4ac. It's just b squared minus 4ac. It's just this. Just remove the square root and you'll be fine. So that is all for this video. That is all for how to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. And I hope that was quite simple for you, which I think it should be due to my guidance. Well, I must say thank you all for watching and being such a nice audience to me. Make sure to like and share this video with everyone that you know that needs help. And I hope that you all get wonderful grades in the future. See you in the next video, and goodbye.